What's up, Glam Squad? It's Johanna with God is Glamorous, where we learn how to live our best lives through Jesus Christ. And today we're going to be talking about how to trust in God's timing and, more importantly, how to believe in the promises that God has given us. So if you're like me, you have a lot of goals and a lot of dreams, and you want these things to happen. And sometimes you're wondering, when are these things going to happen? It's been months, maybe even years, since God placed this idea or this dream on my heart, and it still has not come to pass. Well, we are going to be learning how to trust in God's timing by taking a look and studying the story of Abraham and Sarah. So Abraham and Sarah's story starts off in Genesis, when God promises Abraham that he would be a father of many and that he would have so many descendants that they would be more than the stars in the sky. So this story may have been a little hard to believe because at that time, number one, Abraham was 75 years old, and number two, his wife was past the age in which she could have children, so there was no way that she was able to conceive. Based on their understanding. However, God is a God that does not have any limits, and when God promises you something, even though it's a dream or an idea that you can hardly grasp, it's going to come to pass. So in Genesis 12, chapter 2 to 3, God is saying, I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. All right, so God gives Abraham 7 different promises. He says, I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. You will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. And through you, all families of the nation will be blessed. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a promise that God has made to you. God promises to make your name great. God promises that you will be a blessing to others. God promises that through you, many families will be blessed. And although Abraham couldn't see that at the time, it still was going to become a reality, and it was still going to happen. However, it did take a long time, but that doesn't mean that God's promises still weren't going to happen. So whatever God promises you, believe in your heart that is going to come to pass, regardless of how long it's going to take, because God's promises are good, and although they may take a little bit while to receive, they're always going to come at the perfect time. All right, so when Sarah, Abraham's wife, hears about these promises that God made him, she doesn't really believe it, and she also feels as though, since she is past the age to have children, that she thinks that she needs to take matters into her own hands. How many of us feel as though when God is taking a little bit too long for us, we feel as though we need to take matters into our own hands in order to help God out? So this is exactly what she does. So she has a servant named Hagar, and Hagar was a young servant, and of course she was within the age in which she could have children. So she suggested that Abraham should get with Hagar so that they can have a baby. So in Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, it says, so he went into Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. So Sarah had this stupid idea to have her husband get with her servant so that they can have a baby, so they can hopefully fulfill the promise that God made to them through someone else, which is an absolute no-no. When God promises you something, it is for you, and you can't assist God in any way, and you can't allow it to happen through someone else. When God chooses you, he chooses you and only you, and there's nothing that you can do to assist God or help God out. So her plan ends up failing horribly, because that's when she feels as though Hagar is despising her, and Hagar feels as though she's better than her because she's carrying Abraham's son, who may in fact be the child that fulfills this promise, and things get a little bit messy. So in Genesis chapter 6, verse 6, so Abraham said to Sarah, indeed your maid is in your hand, do to her as you please. And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. So Sarah gets so upset that her plan backfired on her, and she starts treating Hagar so mean. and then Hagar ends up leaving, and that's a hot mess, and that's a story for another day. But when God gives you a promise, when God gives you something where you feel as though you have to help God out because you don't necessarily believe in the promise that God gives you, it ends up backfiring. And that's a lot like us. We feel as though we have to help God out. When God says he's going to make our name great, we feel as though we need to help God out by buying followers. Or when God says that he's going to give us this amazing business, we feel as though we have to help God out by taking out thousands of dollars in business loans that we can't even afford to pay. Or when God says he's going to promote us to the next level, we feel as though we have to undercut someone else just to make ourselves look good, and that is not the case. Stop trying to rush God. God will allow things to happen in his proper timing, and all you have to do is sit back, relax, and have some faith. All right, so fast forward 25 years, God finally fulfilled the promise that he made to Abraham a long, long time ago. So it says in Genesis chapter 21, "Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age at that very time God had promised him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him." So Abraham was 100 years old when God fulfilled his promise, and Sarah was 90 years old, way past the years in which she can actually have children, for a total of 25 years in which they had to wait. And this is a lot like us. We may not have to wait as long as Abraham and Sarah, hopefully, but it is going to take time. Great things take time, and godly things may take even a little bit longer than that. And our God is a God that is patient, and our God always delivers at the perfect time. And we have to remember that sometimes when God gives us a promise, it's going to take a little bit longer than we expected. So with Abraham had to wait 25 years. With King David, David was anointed as a little boy, but he didn't become king of Judah until 15 years later, and then he had to wait an additional 7 years to become king of Israel. Also with Noah, when God promised that there would be rain, Noah had to wait 120 years to actually see any kind of rain. So we have to understand that God is a God that is a slow cooker. He puts our promises on a slow roast, and during that time, he wants to see if he can trust us. He puts us through a series of tests and trials to see that we can pass them, because as the saying goes, if you are faithful over a few things, God will make you ruler over many things. So I encourage you to stay motivated, stay inspired, and stay encouraged, and know that at the proper time, God will make it happen. It says in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22, that when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So I encourage you to keep the faith, understand that God placed a promise on your heart for only you to fulfill, and God will make that dream become a reality as long as you stay grounded, stay motivated, and stay close to God. All right? So I hope this has been able to inspire you. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will catch you in the next video. Stay glamorous.